Fingerling was such a great character to play because he's like, you know, he's the kind of the dark side of Walter a little bit, and the expression of what's suppressed, and he, you know, he was a chance to play a guy who's like really hardened by his experience.
It was interesting because to do this movie, I mean, I was in a wonderful place when we started filming this movie, but I had to kind of open up old wounds and things to get to that place again. So I found myself in New York going, the dead of winter, going like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this to myself. I'm like, I actually have to open up all this stuff, you know? No, I was, you know, from the very, you know, I think from the second grade, I was funny at home, and I saw my father, who was hilarious. My father was the funniest man in the world. And so when I saw him taking over the room, you know, I was a little kid, and I remember thinking, that's a good way to get over, you know?
My obsession goes back quite a while, and it was handed to me by a friend in Canada who would point out license plates and how they added up to 23 and everything like that.
I was 11 years old, and and I fell in love with the lifeguard, who was 15. She was 15 and wore this American flag one-piece bathing suit, long blonde hair, and I cried every night of my life that summer. I cried in my bed every night, yearning for her. My father lost his job when he was 51, and everything kind of went in the toilet. So I kind of understand the character in the, you know, these characters in the movie, what it's like to lose everything.
Really, really cool girl, awesome girl. There's a good reason for what she has and why people like her. She's a super person.
Yeah?
Yeah, really super.
I think he's brilliant. He's just a great artist, and he has his own way of doing things and his own visual sense, and I just really love him.
I didn't think about it before, and I don't think about it now. I mean, I win when I get to have the meeting to talk about being part of the film, and then I get to do the film, and that's winning. I mean, I have this in my life, this experience. Whew, does it get better, you know?
I mean, we love musicals, don't we? To go to the theater and then to see it on screen like that. It's been a while. It's been a really long while, and well, it took a while to develop it and to figure out a way that it would appeal to modern audiences, and he's done it.
1988 when I came here first on spring break from the University of Texas, and we walked down these streets, my friends and I used 2 rolls of film just on these stars alone.
What can you say? It trivializes it to pretend to understand what it is that they're suffering through right now. You and me in beautiful London in a movie theater in, dresses and heels. It's opportunities for women have definitely expanded in terms of how they are able to and expected to participate and contribute in society, So I don't think it's frowned upon anymore, or a woman is considered a failure if she chooses to live her life outside of that conventional sort of family dynamic. Oh, it's always nice to go to work with a friend, And sure, we have a lot of things in common in the way that we work and the way that we approach work, so it is very easy. And we laugh a lot, which is always nice. I've wanted to work with Russell for such a long time. I respect his work ethic, the way he approaches the work, what it is that he values about working within this medium, how he won't compromise in terms of authenticating the role he's going to play.
Well, Terry Gilliam's movies are like different from anybody else's, and they're different from each other and from anybody else's movies. So it's the whole experience. It's kind of fitting that it would be kind of this bizarre environment. You know what I mean? It's kind of perfect.
I gotta say, a few times in my life I've had these experiences that are just kind of too big to process, and this looks like it's gonna be one of those times.
I was lucky enough to be able to go there. It was a real luxury to be able to have the time, to have, this week that I could take out of my life and go there and start learning about these issues.
Well, I think as you point out, we do look a little tired because we are tired, which is why we had to leave the old fella, George Clooney, at home. It was just too much of a trip for the old fella. He would have been all tuckered out. great. I mean, it was interesting, you know, shooting here in Berlin, in Franca's hometown, and not shooting with her, and then go and seeing her, because she would have us over for dinner, and we would see her, and she would come and visit the set, and then we all went all the way to India in order to shoot together. So that was kind of ironic. I'll walk down the street at some point and check it out. I'll show my daughter when she's a little older, I think.
When we went back down to Mexico, it was deja vu. It was as if those 7 years had never happened. We just clicked into where we left off and just regrouped, and our characters came back immediately.
Took me back. I never thought for 1 minute, I can tell you, that at 32 years old I'd be high kicking like I did when I was a teenager. But I did it.
I must say, I think every woman in the world should be able to sword fence because it's like a therapy.
It is. I mean, I was really intimidated the first time I went into this professional kitchen, but I really got a new appreciation and a confidence. So, you know, I'm cooking up a storm.
Basically, I'm just honored to be part of a wonderful array of women, you know, and I believe in everything they do, each in every field that they do it in, and I'm just happy to be here.
Support and be nice to each other. You spend so much time being nice to strangers, especially in this business. You forget that you have to be really nice to the one you love most.
Fighting or competing for attention or celebritydom, and you know, we share it with each other, our profession, but it's not we're not consumed by it because we're pretty much consumed by each other and our children.
I read this book when I was a little boy. It's how I learned to read. And I just sat there and meditated on that flaming skull, and I said, how could something so scary do so much good? I know that I just wanted to do a good job by Lieutenant McLaughlin. I wanted to do my best because it was my way of saying thank you as well.
Sometimes going from Charlie to Donald was a little tricky because Charlie's attitude sometimes bled into Donald, and so Spike would have to come in and separate the two.
Well, I think the main historical importance of Windtalkers is that it brings to light the heroic and instrumental involvement of the Navajo Nation. I literally scared away Jonathan Foster, the neighborhood bully, turning myself into Ghost Rider, which was my first performance as an 8-year-old boy.
I'm not really looking at it. Sometimes it comes up in conversation and whatnot, but I'm just sort of living in one day at a time. I have no expectations.
I was very excited to be part of this film, but I definitely felt the pressure. I mean, like I said, I didn't really get a lot of time to spend with Richie, and you know, this was a film that I know from, you know, knowing George for a while, that he's been trying to make for years, and I think everybody's been really expecting this film.
My character, you know, she falls in love with Sonny, and I think it's really about just trying to break out of this lifestyle, you know, and learning and knowing that you can do that.
You know, I think Jennifer and like Mimi, they play so much more than I do. And, you know, I'm scared, but I'm here for the fun of it and the love of poker, and you know, just to kind of hang out with everybody else who loves poker and just have a good time and play a great game.
It just seems like we always want to make films about like everything ends really well and happy, and you know, I just love when you know, there's, you know, subject matter and stories that just show the darker side of life. I think that's really interesting.
Frankly, it means more to be honored by independent film than if you were to be honored by the 6 major studios, because you would immediately think there was something political involved. And there is a vast difference, I think, today between the so-called independent films and the major studio films. You can't fight mortality. But you asked if I was ready. I'm not going to answer that. He acted this part. I mean, he took it in order to not fall back on his, on the comedic gifts that he has, and I think he pulled it off. But you'll see for yourself.